Maya Anderson's heels clicked against the marble floor of the Belmont Hotel's grand lobby, and she knew immediately she was underdressed for whatever world she had just stepped into. The restaurant hostess had given her explicit instructions over the phone. Table 12, reserved under Kingston, 7 o'clock sharp. Maya glanced at her watch, 6:58. Perfect timing, at least that part she had managed. She smoothed down her navy blue dress, the nicest thing in her closet, though it felt painfully plain compared to the glittering evening gowns sweeping past her. The restaurant's entrance loomed ahead, all gleaming brass and soft amber lighting. Maya took a breath and walked forward, clutching her small purse like a lifeline. "Reservation for Kingston," she told the maitre d', who barely glanced at her before nodding and gesturing for her to follow. The restaurant was even more intimidating than the lobby. Crystal chandeliers cast warm pools of light over tables draped in pristine white linens. The quiet murmur of conversation mixed with the soft notes of a piano somewhere in the background. Maya's stomach churned. This was so far beyond her usual Friday night routine of takeout and reality TV that she might as well have been on another planet. The maitre d' stopped at a table near the window, where a man sat alone, his profile sharp against the city lights beyond the glass. "Your guest has arrived, sir." Maya slid into the chair across from him, her heart hammering. She had agreed to this blind date setup by her colleague Jennifer, who had been relentless about getting Maya back into the dating scene after her breakup 6 months ago. Jennifer had described tonight's date as successful and ambitious, which Maya had translated to mean probably boring but financially stable. She needed stable right now. Her graphic design freelancing was barely keeping her afloat, and while she was not looking for someone to rescue her, she was tired of counting pennies. The man looked up from his phone, and Maya's breath caught. He was not just handsome, he was striking. Dark hair swept back from a face with strong features, a defined jawline, and eyes so intensely blue they seemed to pierce right through her. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, and when his gaze met hers, something flickered across his expression. Surprise, maybe. Or recognition. "Hi," Maya said, forcing brightness into her voice. "Sorry if I'm a bit late. Traffic was worse than I expected." The man set his phone down slowly, those blue eyes never leaving her face. A small smile played at the corner of his mouth, not quite forming but not quite fading either. Not at all. Perfect timing, actually. His voice was deep and smooth, with a confidence that suggested he was used to being listened to. Maya felt herself relax slightly. At least he seemed pleasant. That was a start. "I'm Maya," she offered, extending her hand across the table. He reached out and took it, his grip warm and firm. "Harrison." He held her hand just a moment longer than necessary, his thumb brushing across her knuckles before he released her. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Maya." Something about the way he said her name made her skin tingle. She tucked a strand of her dark hair behind her ear, suddenly aware of how plain her appearance must seem to someone like him. No expensive jewelry, minimal makeup, her hair in simple waves rather than some elaborate updo. But Harrison's expression did not show disappointment. If anything, he looked almost amused, like he was in on some private joke. A server appeared with menus bound in leather, and Maya opened hers with growing dread. No prices. That was never a good sign. She scanned the options, recognizing maybe half the ingredients listed. Wagyu beef, truffle oil, seared foie gras. This was so far beyond her usual budget that she had to resist the urge to laugh. "Order whatever you like," Harrison said, watching her over the top of his menu. "I recommend the duck. They prepare it exceptionally well here." Maya glanced up at him. "You come here often?" "Occasionally. For business, usually." He closed his menu and set it aside. But tonight is definitely not business. The way he said it made heat creep up Maya's neck. She focused back on the menu, trying to calm her suddenly racing pulse. Jennifer had not mentioned that her blind date would look like he had walked off a magazine cover, or have a voice that made her think of dark bedrooms and tangled sheets. Pull it together, Maya told herself sternly. He's just a man. An incredibly attractive, clearly wealthy man, but still just a man. The chicken sounds good, Maya said, closing her menu. Safe choice. Classic. She could not go wrong with chicken. Harrison's smile widened just a fraction. An excellent choice. The server returned, and Harrison ordered for both of them with the ease of someone who had done this 1,000 times. He also requested a bottle of wine that Maya suspected cost more than her car payment. When the server left, Harrison leaned back in his chair, his attention fully on her. "So, Maya," he said, "tell me about yourself." It was such a standard opening line, but something in his gaze made it feel like he genuinely wanted to know. Maya took a sip of water to buy herself a moment. What could she possibly say that would be interesting to someone like him? "I'm a graphic designer," she started. "Freelance, mostly. I work from home, which is great for flexibility but terrible for social interaction. Most days, my only conversations are with my coffee maker." She laughed nervously. "What about you? What do you do?" Harrison's expression flickered with something she could not quite read. "I work in manufacturing. Family business, actually. It keeps me busy." "That must be nice, though," Maya said. "Working with family, is it a big operation? You could say that." He shifted slightly, and Maya got the sense he did not want to talk about work. "But tonight, I'd rather hear more about you. How long have you been freelancing?" "About 3 years now. I left my agency job because I wanted more creative control." Maya relaxed as she talked about her work, the familiar topic loosening the knot of anxiety in her chest. "It's been challenging, but I love it. Most of the time, when I'm not panicking about where my next paycheck is coming from." Harrison laughed, a genuine sound that made his whole face soften. "I appreciate the honesty. Most people I meet try to pretend everything is perfect all the time." "Well, I'm terrible at pretending," Maya admitted. "My face gives everything away. It's a real problem sometimes." "I think it's refreshing." Harrison's gaze held hers, and Maya felt that pull again, that magnetic attraction that made it hard to look away. "You're not what I expected." Before Maya could ask what he meant by that, the server arrived with their wine. Harrison went through the tasting ritual with practiced efficiency, then the server poured for both of them. Maya took a sip, and her eyes widened. She knew nothing about wine, but even she could tell this was exceptional, smooth and rich with layers of flavor she did not have words for. "Good?" Harrison asked, watching her reaction. "Incredible," Maya said honestly. "I usually drink the $10 bottles from the grocery store, so this is a bit of an upgrade." Harrison's laugh was warmer this time, reaching his eyes. "I like you, Maya." The simple declaration caught her off guard. "You don't even know me yet. Then let's change that." He leaned forward, his forearms resting on the table, bringing him closer to her. "What do you do when you're not working? What makes you happy?" The question was so direct, so genuinely curious, that Maya found herself answering without her usual filter. She told him about her love of old movies, the way she could lose hours in a bookstore, her terrible attempts at learning to cook Thai food that always ended in ordering takeout anyway. She talked about her small apartment with the temperamental heating and the view of a brick wall, but also about the art prints she had hung to make it feel like home. Harrison listened to all of it, asking questions, laughing at her stories, never once checking his phone or looking away. Their food arrived, and Maya had to admit the chicken was the best she had ever tasted. Harrison had ordered the duck, and he offered her a taste, watching with clear satisfaction as she savored it. "You were right," Maya said. "This is amazing. I'm glad you think so." Harrison cut another piece of his duck, his movements precise and controlled. Everything about him seemed that way, Maya realized, controlled, measured, deliberate, except when he smiled at her. Those moments felt unguarded, real. "Can I ask you something?" Maya said, emboldened by the wine and the easy flow of their conversation. "Anything." "Why did you agree to this? The blind date, I mean. You seem like someone who wouldn't have trouble meeting people the normal way." Harrison set down his fork, his expression turning thoughtful. "Honestly, my mother has been on my case about settling down. She thinks I work too much and don't make enough time for my personal life." He paused, his gaze flickering over Maya's face. "She set this up, actually, tonight." Something cold settled in Maya's stomach. "Your mother set this up." "She's persistent." Harrison's tone was wry. "She has opinions about what I should be doing with my life, and apparently who I should be doing it with." Maya's mind raced. Jennifer had set up this date. Jennifer from work, who had been so insistent that Maya meet this perfect guy she knew. But Harrison was talking about his mother arranging things. Wait," Maya said slowly. "Who exactly were you supposed to be meeting tonight?" Harrison's eyes met hers, and for the first time that evening she saw something that looked almost like guilt cross his features. "Someone my mother thought would be suitable." The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. The fancy restaurant, the reserved table, Harrison's surprise when he first saw her. "I'm not her, am I, the woman you were supposed to meet?" Harrison leaned back in his chair, and now his expression was unreadable. "No, you're not." Maya's face went hot with embarrassment. "Oh my God, I am so sorry. I thought Jennifer said she told me to meet someone here at table 12, Kingston Reservation, and I just assumed." She started to stand, grabbing her purse. "I should go. Your actual date is probably looking for you somewhere, and this is so humiliating." "Maya, wait." Harrison's hand shot out, catching her wrist gently but firmly. "Sit down, please." "But I knew." His words stopped her cold. "From the moment you sat down, I knew you were not the woman my mother had arranged for me to meet." Maya sank slowly back into her chair, her mind reeling. "You knew?" "This whole time?" "Yes." "Why didn't you say anything?" Harrison's thumb traced small circles on the inside of her wrist, and Maya realized he was still holding her hand. "Because the moment I saw you, I wanted to know who you were. And when you introduced yourself as Maya, looking nervous and beautiful and completely out of place in this pretentious restaurant, I made a split-second decision." He paused, his blue eyes intense on hers. "I decided to see where the evening would go." "But your mother's friend, the woman you were supposed to meet, already left, I imagine." "I saw her earlier, waiting near the entrance. Blonde woman in a red dress, looked bored before she even walked in. When you headed for this table, she looked confused, checked her phone, and left." Harrison's expression softened. "I saw an opportunity to escape an evening I was dreading and spend time with someone who actually interested me, so I took it." Maya did not know what to say. Part of her was still mortified by the mix-up, but another part, a larger part, was thrilled by his confession. "That's crazy. You don't even know me." "I'm getting to know you now." Harrison released her wrist but did not break eye contact. "Tell me honestly, Maya, are you enjoying yourself tonight?" She wanted to lie to protect herself from whatever this was becoming, but her treacherous mouth answered truthfully. "Yes, more than I have in a long time." "Then stay, finish dinner with me, let's see where this goes." Maya knew she should leave. This whole situation was absurd, a comedy of errors that could not possibly lead anywhere good. But when she looked at Harrison, at the way he was watching her with such focused attention, like she was the only person in the entire restaurant that mattered. She found herself nodding. "Okay," she said softly. "I'll stay." Harrison's smile was genuine and warm, transforming his face from merely handsome to breathtaking. "Thank you." They fell back into conversation, and Maya found herself relaxing again despite the strangeness of the situation. Harrison asked about her design work, genuinely interested in her process and her favorite projects. She told him about the small business branding she specialized in, how much she loved helping entrepreneurs bring their visions to life. "That's what I love about design," Maya said, gesturing with her wine glass. "It's problem-solving but creative. You're taking something abstract, an idea, a feeling, a brand identity, and making it concrete and visual." "You light up when you talk about it," Harrison observed. "It's clear you love what you do." "I do. Even when it's terrifying and financially unstable," Maya laughed. "What about you? You said family business, but what do you actually do, day to day, I mean?" Harrison's expression shuddered slightly, and Maya noticed the shift. "A lot of meetings. Strategic planning, making sure operations run smoothly." "Sounds vague and important," Maya teased, trying to lighten whatever had changed in his mood. "It can be both," Harrison admitted. "Honestly, most days it's more tedious than exciting. I spend more time looking at spreadsheets and sitting in conference rooms than I'd like. But you're good at it." It was not a question, but Harrison answered anyway. "I am, whether I want to be or not." There was something in his tone that made Maya pause. "What would you rather be doing?" Harrison looked surprised by the question, like no one had asked him that before. He was quiet for a moment, swirling the wine in his glass. "I wanted to be an architect. When I was younger, I was fascinated by buildings, by design and space, and how environments affect people. I even started studying it in college. What happened? My father died." Harrison's voice was matter-of-fact, but Maya heard the old pain underneath. "I was 22. My mother needed me to take over the business. It was always expected that I would eventually, but not that soon. Not like that." Maya's chest tightened with sympathy. "I'm sorry. That must have been incredibly hard. It was a long time ago." Harrison met her eyes again, and she saw vulnerability there that made her want to reach across the table and take his hand. "But sometimes I wonder what my life would look like if I had made different choices." "You could still pursue it," Maya suggested gently. "Architecture, I mean, if it's what you really want." Harrison's smile was sad. "It's not that simple. There are responsibilities, expectations. People depending on me." Maya understood that. She had left her stable agency job against everyone's advice, and it had taken every ounce of courage she had. But she had only herself to worry about. Harrison clearly had an entire business and family counting on him. That's a heavy weight to carry. "It is." He paused, then added quietly, "I don't usually talk about this." "Why are you telling me?" "Because you asked, and because you actually seem to care about the answer." Harrison reached across the table, and this time he did take her hand. "Most people in my life don't ask what I want. They tell me what I should want, what I should do, who I should be." The warmth of his hand anchored her, and Maya squeezed his fingers. "That sounds lonely." "It is," Harrison admitted, "which is why tonight has been such a gift. You're real, Maya. You say what you think, you show what you feel." "Do you have any idea how rare that is?" Maya felt tears prick at her eyes, but she blinked them back. "I'm just me. I don't know how to be anything else." "Don't ever change that," Harrison said fiercely. "Promise me." "I promise," Maya whispered. They finished their meal in a bubble that felt separate from the rest of the restaurant. The server cleared their plates and offered dessert menus, but Harrison waved them away. "Would you like to get out of here?" he asked Maya. Her heart jumped. "Where would we go?" "Anywhere." "Nowhere. I just want to keep talking to you, and I'd rather do it somewhere less stuffy." Harrison's smile was almost boyish. "Unless you're tired of me already." "Not even close," Maya admitted. Harrison settled the bill with a black credit card that the server handled with reverence, and Maya tried not to think about how much their meal had cost. He helped her with her coat, his hands briefly touching her shoulders, sending electricity down her spine. Outside, the November air was crisp and cold, carrying the scent of coming winter. The city sparkled around them, alive with Friday night energy. Harrison stood close to her, his presence warm and solid. "You trust me?" he asked. Maya looked up at him, at the way the streetlights caught in his dark hair and made his eyes seem even more blue. She barely knew this man, but somehow the answer was obvious. Yes. Harrison's smile could have melted steel. He offered her his arm, and Maya took it, letting him guide her down the street. They walked without any particular destination, just moving through the city as the night unfolded around them. "I should confess something," Harrison said as they turned down a quieter street lined with brownstones. "I don't usually do things like this, spontaneous evenings with strangers." "Me neither," Maya said. "I'm usually home by now in my pajamas watching something mindless on TV." "That actually sounds nice." "It's very exciting," Maya joked. "Sometimes I have ice cream, really living on the edge." Harrison laughed, and the sound made Maya's chest feel light. "What's your favorite flavor?" "Cookie dough, classic and reliable." "Good choice." They walked a bit further, and Harrison added, "I haven't had ice cream in probably 2 years." Maya stopped walking and turned to stare at him. 2 years, that's not healthy. Ice cream is important. Is it? Absolutely. It's one of life's essential pleasures. Maya looked around and spotted a small corner store with a glowing sign. "Come on, we're fixing this right now." She grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the store, and Harrison followed, laughing at her determination. The store was tiny and cramped, smelling of coffee and newsprint, but it had a freezer case along one wall. Maya surveyed the options and selected 2 pints cookie dough for her, chocolate for Harrison. When she went to pay, Harrison reached over her shoulder with his credit card, but Maya swatted his hand away. "I've got this. You bought dinner." "Dinner was expensive, I know. Which is why I'm buying the ice cream. It's important that I contribute something to this evening that's not just me making a fool of myself." Harrison studied her for a moment, then stepped back with a small nod. "Thank you, Maya." She paid for the ice cream, and the store clerk handed them plastic spoons with an amused expression. Back outside, Maya opened her pint and took a bite, closing her eyes in appreciation. "This is ridiculous," Harrison said, but he was smiling as he opened his own container. "This is living," Maya corrected. She watched as he took a tentative bite, then a bigger one. "See, life-changing. I admit this is pretty good." "Pretty good," Maya gasped in mock outrage. "Take that back." "It's excellent," Harrison amended, his eyes crinkling with laughter. "Best chocolate ice cream I've ever had from a convenience store at 9 o'clock at night." They found a bench in a small park and sat down, eating their ice cream and watching the occasional person walk by with their dog or their date or their own private purpose. The cold did not bother Maya. She felt warm from the inside out, like Harrison's presence was generating heat. "Can I ask you something?" Harrison said after a while. "Sure." "This blind date you thought you were on, the guy Jennifer set you up with. Did you want to be there?" Maya considered lying, then remembered her promise to stay real. "Honestly, I was terrified. I haven't dated anyone since my breakup, and I only agreed because Jennifer wouldn't stop pestering me. I figured it would be awkward and boring, and I would go home feeling even more convinced that I was better off alone." "What changed?" "You," Maya said simply. "When I saw you, and then when we started talking, I forgot to be scared. You made it easy." Harrison set his ice cream down on the bench beside him and turned to face her fully. "I should tell you something." Maya's stomach clenched. Here it comes, she thought. The catch. The reason this was too good to be true. "Okay. My full name is Harrison Kingston. My family owns Kingston Manufacturing. We make industrial equipment, ship it globally. It's a multi-million-dollar company and I'm the CEO." Maya blinked, processing. Kingston Manufacturing. She had heard of it, everyone had. They were huge, one of the biggest employers in the region. Which meant Harrison was not just successful, he was wealthy. Really, seriously wealthy. "Oh," she said faintly. "I'm telling you because I don't want any secrets between us. And because if we continue spending time together, you'll find out eventually. Better you hear it from me now." Maya looked down at her ice cream, suddenly feeling very small and very out of her depth. "The woman your mother wanted you to meet, I'm guessing she was from your world. Money, connections, the right background." "Probably," Harrison acknowledged. "I never bothered to find out. And I'm just a freelance graphic designer who lives in a tiny apartment and shops at thrift stores." "Maya." Harrison's hand touched her chin, gently tilting her face up until she met his eyes. "I don't care about any of that. I care that you're intelligent and kind and genuine. I care that you make me laugh and that you listen when I talk. I care that for the first time in years, I feel like someone sees me as a person, not just a name or a position or a bank account. But realistically, I'm sitting on a bench in November eating ice cream with a beautiful woman who snuck into my life by accident and made my entire night worthwhile. That's all I care about right now." Maya searched his face, looking for any sign that he was not serious, that this was some kind of game. But Harrison's expression was open and earnest in a way that made her chest ache. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay. I want to keep seeing you, spending time with you. Even though this is crazy and probably a terrible idea." Harrison's smile was brilliant. "Best terrible idea I've ever had." He leaned in slowly, giving Maya plenty of time to pull away, but she did not want to pull away. She wanted this, wanted him, wanted to know what his mouth tasted like. When his lips met hers, soft and sure, Maya felt the world tilt on its axis. The kiss started gentle, exploratory, but quickly deepened as Harrison's hand cupped the back of her neck, and Maya's fingers clutched the lapels of his coat. He tasted like chocolate and promise, and when they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Maya felt like she had just stepped off a cliff into free fall. "Wow," she breathed. "Yeah," Harrison agreed, his forehead resting against hers. "Wow." They sat there for a moment, close enough that Maya could feel his heartbeat through his coat. Then Harrison pulled back slightly, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "I should take you home," he said, "before I completely lose my head and do something even more reckless." "Like what?" "Like ask you to spend the entire weekend with me." Harrison's smile was rueful. "Which would be moving way too fast and probably scare you away." Maya knew he was right. They needed to slow down, be sensible, think this through. But every rational thought evaporated under the warmth of his gaze. "What if I said yes?" Harrison stilled. "Are you saying yes?" "Maybe." Maya bit her lip, then decided to take the leap. "Yes, I'm saying yes. Maya." Harrison breathed her name like a prayer. "Are you sure?" "Not even a little bit. But I don't want this night to end, and I have this feeling that if we say goodbye now, I'm going to spend the rest of my life wondering what might have happened." Harrison kissed her again, hard and fast and full of promise. When he pulled back, his eyes were burning. "Come on, then. Let's go on an adventure." He stood and offered her his hand, and Maya took it without hesitation. Harrison led her back through the city streets to where his car was parked in the hotel's underground garage. Maya had expected something flashy and ostentatious, but the vehicle was a sleek silver sedan, expensive, yes, but understated. Where are we going? Maya asked as Harrison held open the passenger door for her. That depends. What are you interested in? Museums? Late-night bookstores? Dancing? The city is ours. Maya thought about it, then grinned. I want to see where you live. Harrison raised an eyebrow. That's what you want. You wanted honesty, right? I'm curious. I want to see your space, understand more about who you are. Fair enough. Harrison closed her door and walked around to the driver's side. As he started the engine, he glanced over at her. But I warn you, it's not very interesting. My place is mostly where I sleep between work obligations. I'll be the judge of that. The drive took them out of the downtown core and into an upscale neighborhood Maya had only ever seen in magazines. The buildings here were historic and beautiful, converted mansions with private gardens and doormen. Harrison pulled into an underground parking structure and found his spot with practiced ease. They took an elevator to the top floor, and Harrison unlocked a heavy wooden door that opened into a space that made Maya's entire apartment seem like a closet. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city skyline, glittering like scattered diamonds. The furniture was modern and minimalist, all clean lines and muted colors. Original artwork hung on the walls, and Maya's trained eye recognized several pieces from local artists. This is not interesting, Maya said, turning in a slow circle. Harrison, this is incredible. It's just a place to live. But Harrison looked pleased by her reaction. He shrugged off his coat and helped Maya with hers, hanging them in a closet near the entrance. Maya wandered through the living space, taking in the details. The kitchen was state-of-the-art but looked barely used. The shelves held an impressive collection of architecture books, their spines worn with rating. There was a drafting table in one corner, covered with sketches and plans. You still draw, Maya said, moving closer to examine the papers. Harrison came to stand beside her, his hands in his pockets. Sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep. The sketches were beautiful, elegant buildings with flowing lines and innovative designs. Maya could see the passion in every pencil stroke, the yearning for something just out of reach. These are amazing, she said quietly. You're really talented, Harrison, just a hobby now. It's more than that. Maya turned to face him. This is part of who you are, the part you keep hidden. Harrison's jaw tightened. I don't usually show these to anyone. Why did you show me? Because you asked to see where I live. This is part of it, the part that matters most to me, even though it goes nowhere. Maya reached out and took his hand. It doesn't have to go nowhere. You could still pursue this, find a way to make it part of your life. We've already had this conversation, Maya. I know. But seeing these drawings, seeing how much heart you put into them, she gestured at the table. It just seems like such a waste for you to give up on something you clearly love. Harrison pulled her closer, his free hand coming up to cup her face. You barely know me and you're already trying to fix my life. Is that bad? No, Harrison said softly. It's wonderful and terrifying and so damn tempting. He kissed her forehead, then her cheek, then finally her mouth, slow and deep. Maya melted against him, her arms winding around his neck. They stood there in his living room, kissing like teenagers, losing track of time and place. When Harrison finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. Stay, he said. I have a guest room, or you can take my bed and I'll sleep on the couch. I don't want you to leave yet. Maya knew she should be cautious. They had only met hours ago. But everything about this night felt right in a way she could not explain and did not want to question. I'll stay, she agreed. But we should probably actually sleep. In separate rooms. Slow things down a bit. Harrison nodded, though his hands remained on her waist like he was not quite ready to let go. Separate rooms. Slow, right. I mean it. I know, you're right. Harrison took a breath and stepped back, putting space between them. The guest room is this way. He showed her to a bedroom that was easily twice the size of her own. It had its own in-suite bathroom, and Harrison found her a new toothbrush and some sleep clothes, one of his T-shirts, and a pair of sweatpants that would be comically large on her. "Take your time," Harrison said from the doorway. "There are towels in the bathroom if you want a shower. Make yourself at home." "Thank you." Maya clutched the clothes to her chest. "Harrison?" "Yeah, tonight was perfect. Whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know that." Harrison's smile was soft and genuine. It was. "Get some sleep, Maya. I'll see you in the morning." He closed the door behind him, and Maya was alone in the guest room of a man she barely knew but could not stop thinking about. She changed into his clothes, drowning in the fabric that smelled like expensive detergent and something uniquely Harrison. The bed was impossibly comfortable, the sheets high thread count and silky smooth. Maya lay in the darkness, listening to the distant sounds of the city outside and Harrison moving around in another part of the apartment. Her phone buzzed, and she fished it out of her purse. 3 missed calls from Jennifer and a string of texts. "Where are you?" "The guy from the restaurant called me asking where you were. I'm so confused." Maya read the messages with growing understanding. Jennifer had set her up with someone else, someone who had also been at the restaurant. The actual blind date she was supposed to have. She typed back a quick response. "Long story. I'll explain tomorrow. I'm fine. Better than fine, actually." She set her phone on the nightstand and stared at the ceiling, her mind racing too fast for sleep. What was she doing? Getting involved with a CEO, someone so far out of her league that it was almost laughable. But when she thought about Harrison's smile, the way he really listened when she talked, how vulnerable he had been about his abandoned dreams, she could not bring herself to regret any of it. Eventually, exhaustion won out, and Maya drifted off to sleep. She woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. For a moment, Maya was disoriented, then the memories of the previous night rushed back. She sat up, running her hands through her tangled hair, then padded out of the guest room in search of Harrison. He was in the kitchen, dressed in jeans and a simple gray T-shirt that showed off his athletic build. He looked different from last night, more relaxed, younger somehow. When he saw Maya, his face lit up. "Good morning," he said. "I was wondering when you'd wake up. It's past 10. "I never sleep this late," Maya said, then laughed at herself. "I guess yesterday tired me out more than I realized." "Coffee," Harrison offered, already reaching for a mug. "Please." He poured her a cup and handed it over, their fingers brushing in the exchange. Maya took a sip and closed her eyes in appreciation. "This is really good coffee. I have an espresso machine. It's one of my few indulgences." Harrison leaned against the counter, watching her. "How did you sleep?" "Like a rock. That bed is amazing." Maya set down her mug. "I should probably get out of your hair, though. I'm sure you have things to do and I need to get home, change clothes, or," Harrison interrupted, "you could stay for breakfast. I was going to make pancakes, unless you have somewhere you need to be." Maya thought about her empty apartment and her non-existent weekend plans. "I don't have anywhere to be." "Then stay, please." The way he said it with such genuine hope made Maya's heart squeeze. "Okay, pancakes sound great." They worked together in the kitchen, Harrison cooking while Maya played assistant, handing him ingredients and chatting about nothing and everything. It felt domestic and comfortable, like they had done this 100 times before instead of just meeting the night before. "I talked to Jennifer this morning," Maya said as Harrison flipped a pancake with practiced ease. "She's very confused about what happened last night." "I imagine my mother is equally confused," Harrison said. "I turned off my phone last night. I'm avoiding her calls." "Will she be angry?" "Probably." My mother has very specific ideas about how my life should go. Harrison plated the pancakes and brought them to the kitchen island where Maya sat on a bar stool. But I stopped letting her control my decisions a long time ago. What will you tell her? The truth. That I met someone unexpected and wonderful and I'm going to see where it leads. Harrison met her eyes across the island. If that's okay with you. Maya's throat felt tight. You barely know me. I know enough. I know that you're kind and creative and honest. I know that you make me laugh and make me think. I know that when I'm with you, I feel more like myself than I have in years. Harrison reached across and took her hand. I want to know everything else, if you'll let me. Maya squeezed his fingers, unable to speak past the emotion welling up in her chest. Finally, she managed, I want that too. They ate breakfast in comfortable silence, stealing glances at each other and smiling like idiots. Afterward, Harrison suggested a walk through a nearby park, and Maya agreed. Borrowing one of his hoodies since her dress from the night before was not exactly appropriate for Saturday morning casual. The park was beautiful, full of autumn trees shedding their last leaves and families enjoying the unseasonably warm November day. Harrison held her hand as they walked, and Maya felt ridiculously happy, like she was in a movie or a dream. Tell me something no one else knows about you, Harrison said as they paused by a pond where ducks were swimming. Maya thought about it. I have a half-finished novel on my laptop that I've been working on for 3 years. It's terrible, and I'll probably never show it to anyone, but I add to it sometimes when I need an outlet. What's it about? A woman who discovers she can see people's memories when she touches them. It's kind of a supernatural thriller, I guess. Like I said, it's probably terrible. I'd like to read it someday, Harrison said. If you ever want to share it, maybe. Your turn. Tell me something no one knows. Harrison was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the water. I hate my job. Not the work itself, but what it represents, this life that was chosen for me instead of the one I would have chosen for myself. And I resent my father sometimes for dying and leaving me with all of it. Maya heard the pain and guilt in his voice. That doesn't make you a bad person, Harrison. Doesn't it? He's dead and I'm angry at him for it. You're angry at the situation, at losing your choice and your future. That's normal. Harrison turned to her, his eyes searching her face. How do you do that? Make everything seem so simple. Life is usually simpler than we make it. We're just too close to see it sometimes. Maya stepped closer, wrapping her arms around his waist. Harrison pulled her in tight, resting his chin on top of her head. They stood like that for a while, just holding each other, and Maya felt something shift inside her. This was not just attraction or the excitement of something new. This was deeper, more significant. She was falling for him, fast and hard, and it should have scared her. But standing in Harrison's arms, feeling safe and wanted, she could not bring herself to be afraid. They spent the rest of the day together, wandering through the city like tourists, stopping at random shops and cafes. Harrison was relaxed in a way Maya suspected he rarely allowed himself to be, and she loved watching him discover simple pleasures: street musicians, bookstores, a vintage record shop where he spent an hour browsing. I haven't done this in years, Harrison admitted as they left the record shop, him carrying a bag with 3 vinyl albums he had bought on impulse. Done what? Just existed. No schedule, no agenda, no business to conduct, just being. You should do it more often. I will. With you, if you'll keep me company. I can probably be convinced, Maya teased, and Harrison pulled her in for a kiss right there on the sidewalk, not caring who saw them. As the afternoon turned to evening, they ended up back at Harrison's apartment, ordering takeout and sprawling on his couch to watch movies. Maya curled against his side, and Harrison's arm came around her shoulders like it had always belonged there. "I should probably go home soon," Maya said during the third movie, though she made no move to get up. "Probably," Harrison agreed, but his arm tightened around her. "I have work tomorrow. Sunday is one of my big design days. Work from here." Maya tilted her head back to look at him. "Harrison, I'm serious. Stay another night. Work tomorrow if you need to. I have a home office you can use, multiple laptops. I'll stay out of your way." "I can't keep imposing. You're not imposing. I'm asking, begging actually." Harrison's hand came up to cup her cheek. "I'm not ready to let you go yet." Maya should have been sensible, should have established boundaries and taken things slow. But Harrison was looking at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered, and she found herself nodding. "Okay, I'll stay." Harrison kissed her, long and deep and thorough, until Maya was dizzy with want. When they broke apart, his eyes were dark with desire. "We should probably stop there," he said, his voice rough, "before I forget my promise about taking things slow." "Right, slow." Maya's heart was racing, her body humming with need. "Separate rooms again tonight." "Separate rooms," Harrison confirmed, though he did not sound happy about it. They made it through another night, though Maya barely slept, too aware of Harrison just down the hall. She spent most of Sunday in Harrison's home office, working on client projects while he caught up on his own work. It felt easy and natural, both of them doing their own thing but sharing the same space, occasionally breaking for coffee or conversation. "I could get used to this," Maya admitted late Sunday afternoon as they took a break to raid Harrison's kitchen for snacks. "So could I." Harrison leaned against the counter, watching her assemble a sandwich. "Maya, I want to see you again, properly. Dates, time together. Whatever you're willing to give me. I want that too." "But," Harrison must have heard the hesitation in her voice. Maya set down the knife she was holding. "This is all happening so fast. 24 hours ago, we didn't know each other existed. Now I'm staying at your place and planning a future together." "Does that scare you?" "A little," Maya admitted. "Not because of you, because of what happens when reality sets in. You're a CEO of a major company. I'm barely making rent most months. Your mother wanted you to date someone from your world, someone suitable. I'm not that person." Harrison crossed to her, taking her face in both hands. "Listen to me very carefully. I don't care about suitable. I don't care about expectations or social circles or what anyone thinks I should want. I care about you, the real you exactly as you are. But no buts. Yes, I have money. Yes, I run a company. Those are facts, but they don't define what we could have together. Unless you don't actually want this. If that's the case, tell me now." Maya looked into his eyes, seeing nothing but sincerity and determination. "I want this. I'm just scared of getting hurt. I can't promise I won't hurt you. People hurt each other sometimes, even when they don't mean to." Harrison's thumbs stroked her cheeks gently. "But I can promise I'll try my hardest not to. I can promise that what I feel for you is real, and I can promise that I'm in this, Maya, completely." "Okay," Maya whispered. "Then I'm in too." Harrison kissed her with such tenderness that Maya felt tears prick her eyes. When they broke apart, both of them were smiling. "We should probably get you home eventually," Harrison said, "before your cat starts wondering where you are." "I don't have a cat." "Well then, we should get you one. Every freelancer needs a cat." Maya laughed, the tension breaking. "Is that a rule?" "Absolutely. It's in the handbook." They finished making sandwiches and ate them while planning the week ahead. Harrison had back-to-back meetings most days, but he wanted to see Maya for dinner on Wednesday. She agreed, feeling giddy at the prospect of a proper date. When evening came, Harrison drove Maya back to her apartment. He walked her up to her door, and they stood in the hallway like teenagers prolonging goodbye. "I had the best weekend," Maya said. "Thank you for letting me crash your blind date." Best mistake that ever happened to me, Harrison replied. He kissed her softly. I'll call you tomorrow, you better. One more kiss, then Harrison forced himself to step back. Maya watched him walk down the hallway, turning back to wave at her before he disappeared around the corner. She floated into her apartment, her heart full. The next few weeks passed in a blur of work and stolen moments with Harrison. They texted constantly throughout the day, sent each other photos and random thoughts. Harrison took her to dinner at more casual restaurants than that first night, and Maya cooked for him at her place, laughing when everything came out slightly burned but eating it anyway. They went to art galleries and movies, took walks through the city, spent hours talking about everything and nothing. Harrison opened up more about his family, the pressure he felt to live up to his father's legacy, his complicated relationship with his mother who loved him but could not understand his unhappiness. Maya shared her own struggles, the loneliness of freelancing, her fears about financial instability, the creative blocks that sometimes left her staring at a blank screen for hours. Through it all, they grew closer. Maya met Harrison's best friend Marcus, who ran the operations side of Kingston Manufacturing, and who clearly approved of Maya based on how happy she made Harrison. Harrison met Jennifer, who pulled Maya aside to demand all the details and express her amazement that the blind date mix-up had turned into a real relationship. "He's crazy about you," Jennifer said over coffee one afternoon. "I've never seen someone look at anyone the way he looks at you." "I'm crazy about him too," Maya admitted. "Is that normal to feel this much this fast? Who cares about normal? You're happy. He's happy. That's what matters." 1 month into their relationship, Harrison invited Maya to his mother's house for Sunday dinner. Maya spent the entire week panicking about it, trying on and rejecting a dozen different outfits, practicing conversation topics in the mirror. "You're going to be fine," Harrison assured her as they drove to his childhood home, a sprawling estate in the suburbs. "My mother can be intimidating, but she's not a monster." "Easy for you to say. She wanted you to marry someone suitable, and instead you're bringing home a freelance designer who crashed your blind date." Harrison squeezed her hand. "I'm bringing home the woman I love. That's all that matters." Maya's head whipped around to stare at him. "What?" Harrison kept his eyes on the road, but a smile played at his lips. "You heard me." "Harrison, I love you, Maya. I've known for weeks now. I probably knew that first night, if I'm being honest." Now he did glance at her, his expression vulnerable. "You don't have to say it back. I just wanted you to know." Maya's throat was tight with emotion. "I love you too, I have for a while. I was just too scared to say it first." Harrison pulled the car over onto the shoulder of the road and turned to face her fully. "Say it again." "I love you," Maya repeated, and Harrison kissed her with such joy that they both started laughing in the middle of it. "Okay," Harrison said when they finally broke apart. "Now we can go meet my mother." Catherine Kingston was exactly as intimidating as Maya had imagined, tall, elegant, with sharp eyes that seemed to see right through pretense. She greeted them at the door of her grand home, kissing Harrison's cheek, before turning her assessing gaze on Maya. "So you're the young woman who has captured my son's attention so completely," Catherine said, her tone giving nothing away. "Yes, madam," Maya replied, resisting the urge to curtsy or flee. "It's a pleasure to meet you." Catherine studied her for another long moment, then stepped back to let them enter. "Well, come in. Dinner will be ready shortly." The house was museum-like in its perfection, full of antiques and artwork that probably cost more than Maya would earn in her lifetime. Catherine led them to a formal sitting room where drinks were already laid out. "Harrison tells me you're a graphic designer," Catherine said once they were all seated, Maya perched nervously on the edge of an antique chair. "Yes, I specialize in small business branding. How entrepreneurial. Catherine's tone made it unclear whether this was a compliment or criticism. And how did you two meet? Harrison has been remarkably vague on the details. Maya glanced at Harrison, who looked amused. Should I tell her, or do you want to? This should be good, Harrison said. Go ahead. Maya turned back to Catherine. I was set up on a blind date by a friend. I went to the restaurant, saw the reservation name Kingston at table 12, and sat down. Harrison was waiting for someone else, I assume someone you had arranged for him to meet. Catherine's eyebrows rose slightly. Go on. He figured out immediately that I was not her, but he did not say anything. We spent the evening together, and well, here we are. A long silence fell. Catherine's expression was unreadable. Then, to Maya's surprise, she started laughing. Harrison, you deliberately stood up the woman I arranged for you to meet so you could spend the evening with a complete stranger. Yes, Harrison said unapologetically. Best decision I ever made. Catherine shook her head, but she was smiling now. You always were stubborn. Just like your father. She turned to Maya, her expression softening. I admit I had my doubts when Harrison told me about you. He has always been so responsible, so predictable. This impulsive romance seemed out of character. Mother, Harrison started, but Catherine held up a hand. Let me finish. But seeing you two together, the way he looks at you, the way you look at him, she paused, her eyes going distant. His father looked at me that way once. I had forgotten what it was like. Catherine focused back on Maya. You make my son happy. I can see that clearly. And that matters more than pedigree or connections or anything else I thought I wanted for him. Maya felt tears spring to her eyes. Thank you, Mrs. Kingston. That means a lot. Call me Catherine. And I want to know everything about you. What you're working on, what your dreams are. If you're going to be part of Harrison's life, you're part of this family. Dinner was surprisingly easy after that. Catherine asked questions about Maya's work, genuinely interested in her creative process and her business challenges. She shared stories about Harrison as a child, much to his embarrassment and Maya's delight. By the time they left, hours later, Maya felt like she had passed some crucial test. That went better than I expected, Maya admitted in the car on the way home. I told you my mother is not a monster. She just wants me to be happy. She loves you a lot. You're lucky. Harrison brought her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles. I'm lucky in a lot of ways, mostly because of you. Over the next several months, Maya and Harrison's relationship deepened into something solid and real. They dealt with challenges, busy work schedules, the occasional paparazzi photo since Harrison was something of a public figure, questions from both their social circles about their different backgrounds. But they faced it all together, learning each other's quirks and habits, building a life that fit them both. Harrison started taking architecture classes at night, reigniting his passion for design. Maya took on bigger clients, her business growing as her confidence increased. They moved in together after 6 months, choosing a new place that belonged to both of them rather than trying to merge their individual spaces. 1 year after their accidental meeting, Harrison took Maya back to the Belmont Hotel restaurant, requesting the same table where it had all started. Maya wore a new dress, navy blue like that first night, and Harrison wore the same charcoal suit. This is nostalgic, Maya said as they sat down, smiling at the memories. I wanted to recreate that evening, Harrison said, but with one significant difference. What's that? Instead of answering, Harrison stood and came around to her side of the table. Maya's heart started racing as he knelt down on one knee, pulling a small velvet box from his jacket pocket. Maya Anderson, you crashed my blind date and changed my entire life. You saw me when I felt invisible. You believed in my dreams when I had given up on them. You made me remember what it feels like to be happy, to be myself, to be loved just for who I am. Harrison opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond ring. "Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Maya's face. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Harrison slid the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into his arms and kissing her as the restaurant around them erupted in applause. Maya laughed through her tears, clinging to him, overwhelmed with joy. "I love you so much," she whispered against his lips. "I love you too. Always." They married 6 months later in a ceremony that blended both their worlds, elegant and formal enough to satisfy Catherine and Harrison's business associates, but personal and warm enough to feel authentically them. Maya wore a simple white dress that she had designed herself, and Harrison could not stop staring at her like she was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. Marcus was Harrison's best man. Jennifer was Maya's maid of honor, and Catherine cried through the entire ceremony. They said their vows under a canopy of flowers in the garden of Catherine's estate, promising to love and support each other through whatever came next. "You're stuck with me now," Maya teased during their first dance as husband and wife. "Best accident that ever happened to me," Harrison replied, echoing his words from that first night. They honeymooned in Italy, spending 2 weeks eating amazing food, exploring ancient architecture, and making love in beautiful hotels with views of the Mediterranean. Harrison sketched constantly, inspired by the buildings around them, and Maya took hundreds of photos for future design projects. "I want to start my own firm," Harrison admitted one evening as they sat on their hotel balcony, watching the sunset. "Architecture and design. Small projects at first, but building towards something meaningful." "What about Kingston Manufacturing? Marcus can run it. He is better at it than I ever was, and he loves it. I'll stay on the board, but it is time for me to do what I actually want with my life." Harrison took her hand. "You showed me that is possible, that I do not have to live the life someone else planned for me." "I'm proud of you," Maya said. "This is brave. You make me brave." 2 years after their wedding, Harrison launched his architecture firm with Maya as his brand designer and creative partner. They worked from a small office downtown, taking on residential projects that let Harrison indulge his passion for creating beautiful, functional spaces. The business grew slowly but steadily, built on word of mouth and Harrison's innovative designs. Maya's own design business continued to thrive, and they often collaborated on projects, their creative energies complementing each other perfectly. They bought a house together not as grand as Catherine's estate, but beautiful and full of character, with space for both their offices and a garden that Maya insisted on filling with flowers. 3 years into their marriage, Maya discovered she was pregnant. Harrison cried when she told him, holding her close and whispering thank you over and over into her hair. "We're having a baby," he kept saying, like he could not quite believe it. "We're having a baby," Maya confirmed, laughing and crying at the same time. They welcomed their daughter on a bright spring morning. They named her Sarah, and she had Harrison's dark hair and Maya's warm brown eyes. Harrison was a natural father, patient and gentle, getting up for midnight feedings without complaint and spending hours just holding Sarah while she slept. Catherine visited almost daily, completely besotted with her granddaughter. She and Maya had become genuinely close over the years, united by their love for Harrison and now for Sarah. Catherine often told the story of how Maya and Harrison met, always ending with how grateful she was that her stubborn son had ignored her matchmaking attempt. "Best mistake I ever made," Catherine would say with a smile, "though I will never admit that to anyone else." On their 5th wedding anniversary, Harrison surprised Maya with a weekend away, just the two of them while Catherine watched Sarah. They went back to the Belmont Hotel, staying in one of the suites upstairs. 5 years, Maya said as they stood at the window, looking out at the city lights. Can you believe it? Sometimes it feels like yesterday. Sometimes it feels like I have known you my whole life." Harrison wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "Do you ever regret how we started? The mix-up, the craziness of that first night?" "Not even for a second." Maya turned in his arms to face him. "You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Harrison Kingston. That blind date I accidentally crashed gave me everything I did not know I needed." "I knew you were not her the moment you sat down," Harrison said. "But I took one look at you, saw how nervous and real and beautiful you were, and I thought, why not? Why not see where this goes? Why not take a chance on something unexpected? Best chance you ever took." "Second best," Harrison corrected. "The first best was telling you I loved you and asking you to marry me, and every single day I have chosen you since." Maya kissed him, deep and long and full of 5 years of love and laughter and life built together. When they broke apart, both were smiling. "Here is to the next 50 years, Maya said. "And all the years after that," Harrison agreed. They stood there in the hotel room where their story had begun, wrapped in each other's arms, thinking about the daughter waiting for them at home and the life they had built from one night of mistaken identity and perfect chance. Maya had walked into that restaurant scared and uncertain, expecting nothing more than an awkward evening she would forget by morning. Instead, she had found her home in Harrison's eyes, her future in his smile, her forever in his love. And Harrison, who had been waiting for someone his mother had chosen, someone suitable and expected, had found instead the woman who saw him truly, loved him completely, and gave him the courage to live the life he had always wanted but never dared to reach for. It started with Maya sitting at the wrong table, but it became everything right in both their lives, proof that sometimes the best things happen when plans go wrong, when expectations are shattered, and when two people are brave enough to say yes to something unexpected and wonderful. Years later, they would tell Sarah the story of how they met, how Mama crashed Daddy's blind date, and Daddy knew immediately, but said nothing because he wanted to see where the evening would lead. They would tell her about pancakes and ice cream from convenience stores, about sketches hidden away and dreams finally pursued, about taking chances and falling in love and building a life together one day at a time. And Sarah would ask, like all children do, if they knew right away that they would get married someday. "Not right away," Maya would say. "But pretty close," Harrison would add, smiling at his wife across the dinner table in the home they had made together. "I knew you were special that first night," Maya would admit. "The way you listened, the way you made me feel seen. I did not know it was love yet, but I knew it was something important." "I knew it was love," Harrison would say. "Maybe not in those exact words, but I knew I did not want the night to end. And then I did not want the next day to end, or the day after that. Before long, I could not imagine my life without you in it." Sarah would smile, satisfied with this story she had heard dozens of times but never tired of. And Maya and Harrison would share a look across the table, a look that still held all the wonder and heat and love of that first night when a graphic designer sat down at the wrong table and a CEO decided to let her stay. They built their happily ever after from that one perfect mistake, and neither of them would change a single moment of it.